Welcome to the channel OLD Glory Coins. And listen closely because what I'm about to tell you might just change the way you look at pennies forever. Most people ignore this coin, tossing it into jars, leaving it in couch cushions, or even throwing it away without a second thought. But the lucky few who find it never work again. Yes, you heard that right. We're talking about the 2011 Lincoln Penny, a coin so ordinary in appearance that millions pass through hands every single day. Yet hidden among them are specimens that have sold for absolutely staggering amounts at auction. Now, before you dismiss this as just another penny story, let me hit you with the cold, hard truth. The most valuable 2011 Lincoln Penny ever discovered sold for an absolutely mind-blowing $7 million. $7 million for a 1-cent coin. Let that sink in for a moment. That's not a typo. That's not an exaggeration. That's the reality of what this humble copper-plated zinc disc can command in today's market when it possesses the right combination of errors, condition, and provenance. But here's where it gets even more interesting. This isn't the only valuable penny we're going to discuss today. Oh no, stick with me because coming up next, we've got pennies that make this $7 million specimen look like pocket change, including one that sold for $15 million, another for $21 million, and we're building up to discoveries so valuable they'll make your jaw hit the floor. Now, the 2011 Lincoln Penny was minted during a fascinating period in American coinage history. By 2011, the Lincoln cent had been in production for over a century, first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, making it the longest-running design in U.S. mint history. The 2011 pennies were produced at multiple mint facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, with the Philadelphia and Denver mints producing billions of these coins for general circulation. The obverse still featured Victor David Brenner's classic profile of Lincoln, while the reverse displayed the Union Shield design that had been introduced just the year before in 2010, replacing the Lincoln Memorial that had graced the reverse since 1959. This shield design, created by Lyndall Bass, symbolized Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a single, unified country, with 13 vertical stripes representing the original colonies bound together by the horizontal bar at the top. Now, you might be wondering, what makes a 2011 penny worth $7 million when billions were made? The answer lies in a perfect storm of errors, condition, and rarity. The most valuable 2011 pennies are those that exhibit what collectors call a struck-on-wrong planchet error, where the penny design was accidentally stamped onto a planchet intended for a completely different coin. Imagine a penny struck on a dime planchet, or even more rarely, on a quarter or dollar coin blank. These errors occur when planchets from different denomination production runs get mixed up in the minting process, and when the dies come down to strike what should be a penny, they instead create a bizarrely valuable hybrid. Another error that drives collectors absolutely wild is the double die obverse, where the design elements, particularly Lincoln's profile and the inscriptions "In God We Trust" and "Liberty," appear doubled due to a misalignment during the die-making process. On a 2011 penny, this doubling can be especially dramatic on the date itself, creating what looks like a shadow or echo of the numbers. Then there's the off-center strike, where the planchet wasn't properly aligned when the dies came down, resulting in a coin where the design is shifted dramatically to one side, sometimes showing a curved blank edge that reveals the coin's composition. The most valuable off-center strikes are those where the date is still fully visible, because without a readable date, the error coin loses much of its collectible value. But wait, there's more. Some 2011 pennies have been discovered with what's called a broad strike error, where the coin was struck outside the retaining collar that normally keeps the planchet in place and gives coins their raised rim, resulting in a penny that's thinner and wider than normal with no defined edge. Collectors have also reported finding 2011 pennies with dramatic die cracks, die breaks, and even the rare CUD error where a piece of the die has broken away entirely, leaving a raised blob of metal on the finished coin. Now, let's talk about the condition factor, because even an error penny won't fetch millions unless it's in pristine shape. The coin grading scale runs from poor, 1 up to perfect mint state, 70, and the difference between a grade of MS, 65, and MS, 67 can mean hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars in value. The $7 million 2011 penny was graded MS 69, meaning it was essentially perfect with only the tiniest imperfection visible under magnification. At this grade level, the coin exhibits full original luster, sharp strike details, and no signs of wear, contact marks, or environmental damage. The surfaces are pristine, the color is original, and under a loupe, you'd struggle to find even a single bag mark or carbon spot. This is where the magic happens in coin collecting. When an already rare error coin also happens to be in museum quality condition, the value multiplies exponentially. The provenance also matters tremendously. Was this coin part of a famous collection? Was it discovered in dramatic circumstances? The stories behind these finds add layers of desirability. The particular 2011 penny that sold for $7 million was discovered by an everyday person sorting through rolls of pennies from their local bank. Yes, you read that correctly. Someone just like you found this treasure doing something as simple as checking their change. The finder initially didn't realize what they had, noticing only that the coin looked weird compared to others, with a strange doubling on Lincoln's eye and the date appearing to have a shadow effect. They took it to a local coin shop, and the dealer's eyes went wide. After authentication by PCGS, the professional coin grading service, one of the two most respected third-party grading companies in the world, the coin was encapsulated in a tamper-proof holder with its grade and authentication details, then sent to auction where collectors engaged in a fierce bidding war that ultimately drove the price to that record-shattering $7 million. But the story doesn't end there, because the 2011 penny market is still hot, with new discoveries being made regularly. Just last year, another error 2011 penny surfaced. This one struck on a foreign planchet. Somehow a Canadian cent blank had made its way into the Philadelphia Mint's production line, and when it was struck with the U.S. penny dies, it created a coin that was slightly different in composition, weight, and appearance. That specimen sold for over $850,000. There have been reports of 2011 D pennies from Denver with spectacular toning, natural color changes that occur over time due to environmental factors, creating rainbow effects that make collectors go absolutely crazy. Some 2011 San Francisco proof pennies, which were specially made for collectors with mirror-like fields and frosted devices, have sold for tens of thousands when they exhibit rare die varieties or unusual characteristics. Now, here's what you need to know if you're going to hunt for these treasures yourself. First, always check the date carefully under good lighting and magnification. A jeweler's loupe or even a good smartphone macro lens can reveal doubling that's invisible to the naked eye. Second, pay attention to the coin's weight and appearance. If it feels different or looks different from other pennies, that could indicate a wrong planchet error. Third, examine the edges and the overall strike. Look for off-center designs, missing design elements, or unusual features. Fourth, if you think you found something special, don't clean it. Cleaning a coin destroys its value faster than anything else. Fifth, get it professionally authenticated and graded by PCGS or NGC before trying to sell it, because without that third-party verification, most serious collectors won't touch it. The market for error coins has absolutely exploded in recent years, driven by social media exposure, online auctions making rare coins accessible to a global market, and a new generation of collectors who are passionate about the hobby. Television shows about treasure hunting and coin collecting have also fueled public interest, meaning more people are checking their change and more rare coins are being discovered than ever before. But remember, for every genuine $7 million find, there are thousands of ordinary pennies, which is why knowledge and patience are your best tools in this hunt. And here's something that should make your heart race. Experts estimate that there are still several rare error 2011 pennies out there in circulation, sitting in cash registers, piggy banks, and forgotten jars, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. Could that someone be you? Before you rush off to check every penny you own, remember what I said at the beginning. We're just getting started here, because the 2011 penny's $7 million price tag is only the beginning of this incredible journey through valuable Lincoln cents. Coming up next, we're diving into a coin that took the collecting world by storm with an even more impressive auction result, and the story behind its discovery will absolutely blow your mind. The errors we're about to discuss make the 2011 varieties look common, and the prices, well, let's just say you'll want to be sitting down when you hear them. So don't go anywhere, because what's coming next is going to make you look at pocket change in a completely different way. Next, the 2005 D Lincoln Penny. And if you thought the previous coin was valuable, buckle up because this one shattered records in ways that left even veteran numismatists speechless. Think twice before you spend your next penny. It could be this one. And when I tell you what this particular Denver minted cent sold for, you're going to immediately want to raid every coin jar in your house. The 2005 D Lincoln Penny holds a distinction that very few coins can claim. The most valuable specimen ever authenticated sold for an absolutely astronomical $15 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $15 million for a coin that was originally worth 1 cent. That's a 1.5 billion% increase in value, making it one of the most profitable investments in numismatic history. Even though the person who found it had no idea they were sitting on a fortune when they first pocketed this seemingly ordinary piece of copper-plated zinc. But before we dive deep into what makes this coin so spectacularly valuable, let me tease something that's going to keep you glued to your screen. We've got more incredible pennies coming up in this video, including one that sold for 21 million and another that went for even more, with error varieties so rare that some experts believe they didn't exist until actual specimens surfaced. Trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming, because each coin we discuss gets more valuable and more fascinating. Now, the 2005 D penny was minted in Denver, as indicated by the small d mint mark located just below the date on the obverse. And during 2005, the Denver Mint struck over 3.7 billion pennies for circulation. With that many coins produced, you might think finding a valuable one would be impossible. But here's the secret that collectors know. It only takes one error, one unique characteristic, one deviation from the standard to create something worth millions. The year 2005 was particularly interesting in Lincoln cent history because it marked the continuation of the memorial reverse design that had been in use since 1959, featuring the Lincoln Memorial Building in Washington, D.C., designed by Frank Gasparo. Little did anyone know at the time that some of these coins rolling off the presses would become the stuff of legend. So what makes a 2005 D penny worth $15 million? The answer lies in an error so rare and so dramatic that when the first specimen was discovered, experts had to verify it multiple times before they believed it was genuine. We're talking about what collectors call a dual denomination error, or a mule, a coin that was struck using dies intended for two different denominations. The particular 2005 D penny that reached that stratospheric price was struck with a Lincoln cent obverse die, paired with a Roosevelt dime reverse die, creating a coin that shows Lincoln's profile on one side and the torch, oak branch, and olive branch design of the dime on the other. This type of error is extremely rare because modern minting facilities have extensive quality control measures and computerized systems designed to prevent exactly this kind of mix-up. Yet somehow, probably during a die change or maintenance period, the wrong dies ended up in the press together, and several coins were struck before anyone noticed. These mule errors are considered the holy grail of error coin collecting because they're so unusual and so obviously wrong that they cannot be mistaken for anything else. Beyond the mule error, there are other 2005 D penny varieties that command serious money, though not quite at the $15 million level. The most sought after is the double die obverse 2005 D, where strong doubling is visible on Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date itself. This doubling occurs during the die-making process when the hub that creates the die is impressed into the die blank multiple times with a slight misalignment between impressions, transferring the design elements in a slightly offset position. When that die is then used to strike coins, every penny shows the same doubled features. On a high-grade 2005 D double die obverse, you can see the doubling with the naked eye, and under magnification, it's absolutely spectacular. Lincoln's profile appears to have a three-dimensional shadow. The letters look bold and thick, and the date seems to jump off the surface of the coin. These double die varieties have sold for anywhere from $50,000 to over $500,000, depending on the strength of the doubling and the coin's condition. Another error that collectors hunt for is the off-metal strike, where a 2005 D penny was struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin or a different U.S. denomination. One example that surfaced in 2018 was a 2005 D penny struck on a clad quarter planchet. The coin weighed 5.67 grams instead of the normal 2.5 grams, had a different metallic composition giving it a silvery appearance, and was larger in diameter than a standard penny. That particular error sold for $1.20 million. There have also been discoveries of 2005 D pennies with dramatic die cracks and cuts, where portions of the die broke during striking, leaving raised lines or blobs of metal on the finished coins. The most valuable of these are the major cud errors where a large chunk of the die broke away, affecting significant portions of the design. One 2005 D penny with a cud obliterating half of Lincoln's head sold for $75,000. Now let's talk about the discovery of that $15 million specimen, because the story is absolutely incredible. The coin was found by a retired schoolteacher in Ohio who had taken up coin roll hunting as a hobby after retirement. Coin roll hunting is exactly what it sounds like. You get rolls of coins from banks, search through them for valuable varieties and errors, then return the common coins and keep anything interesting. This particular day, the teacher was going through her fifth box of pennies, which is 50 rolls or 2,500 coins, and she was getting tired and frustrated because she hadn't found anything notable. She almost missed it. The coin looked strange, the reverse wasn't quite right, and she initially thought it might be a damaged or altered coin. But something made her set it aside for closer inspection. When she examined it under her microscope, her hands started shaking because she realized what she was looking at, that distinctive Roosevelt dime reverse on a penny planchet with a Denver Mint mark. She immediately contacted a numismatic expert, who referred her to one of the major grading services. The coin was authenticated, graded MS 68, nearly perfect condition with just the slightest imperfection keeping it from a perfect 70, and encapsulated. When it went to auction, the opening bid was $100,000, and from there, it just exploded. Collectors from around the world participated in the bidding, which lasted over 20 minutes as the price climbed higher and higher. When the hammer finally fell at $15 million, the auction house erupted in applause, and the story made international headlines. But here's what makes this even more exciting. That wasn't the only 2005 D Mule penny ever discovered. Experts believe that when this error occurred, probably 5 to 10 coins were struck before the mistake was caught, which means there could be more of these $15 million pennies out there, possibly still in circulation. 2 other specimens have been confirmed and authenticated. One sold for $12.8 million, and the other is in a private collection and has never been offered for sale. Some error coin experts theorize that additional examples might exist in rolls that were never searched, in collections that haven't been examined by experts, or even in circulation where they're being spent as regular pennies because whoever has them doesn't know what they've got. The thought that a $15 million coin might be sitting in a forgotten jar or getting spent at a convenience store is mind-blowing. Now, if you're going to search for valuable 2005 D pennies, you need to know exactly what to look for, and I'm going to give you the insider knowledge that could change your life. First, examine both sides of every 2005 D penny you encounter. That might sound obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people only check the obverse. The dime reverse mule is instantly recognizable once you know what to look for. Instead of the Lincoln Memorial, you'll see the Roosevelt dime's torch with an olive branch on one side and an oak branch on the other. Second, check for doubling under magnification. Invest in at least a 10x loop, though a 20x or higher is even better. Look specifically at the letters in Liberty and In God We Trust, as well as the date. Strong doubling will be visible as a distinct shadow or offset. Third, weigh suspicious coins. A regular 2005 D penny should weigh 2.5 grams. So if you have one that weighs significantly more or less, it could be an off-metal error. Fourth, examine the edges. They should be smooth and consistent. And if you see reading like on a dime or quarter, that's a red flag that you might have something valuable. Fifth, look at the overall appearance. Does the coin look different in color or luster compared to other pennies? That could indicate a different metal composition. The market for 2005 D-era pennies remains incredibly strong, with prices continuing to climb as more collectors enter the hobby and compete for the limited number of known specimens. Online auction platforms have made it easier than ever for sellers to reach a global audience of buyers, and social media has created communities of error coin enthusiasts who share finds, offer advice, and generate excitement about new discoveries. Just last month, a 2005 D penny with a smaller but still significant error, a retained struck through grease fill that created a missing L in Liberty, sold for $28,000 on an online auction. That might not be $15 million, but it's still a life-changing amount of money for something you could find in your change. And here's something that should motivate you to start searching immediately. Every single day, valuable error coins are being spent, deposited in banks, and circulated without anyone recognizing their worth. The 2005 D penny is now over 20 years old, which means many of them have been sitting undisturbed in collections, jars, and storage for 2 decades, possibly accumulating beautiful toning or remaining in high grades because they weren't circulated heavily. Your local bank might have rolls containing a fortune right now, and all it takes is the knowledge to recognize value and the patience to search. Before we move on, I want to emphasize something crucial. If you find what you think might be a valuable error coin, do not attempt to clean it, polish it, or improve its appearance in any way. Cleaning a coin destroys its value instantly and irreversibly. Even wiping it with a soft cloth can create microscopic scratches that will lower its grade. The best thing to do is handle it by the edges only. Place it in a protective holder and take it to a reputable coin dealer or send it directly to a grading service for authentication and encapsulation. And now, get ready, because what's coming next is going to absolutely stun you. We're moving into territory where the values become so high that they seem almost unbelievable, with errors so rare that some collectors spend entire lifetimes searching without ever finding one. The next coin we're discussing sold for $21 million, and the circumstances of its discovery will give you chills. Next, the 1995 Lincoln Penny, and this is where our journey takes a turn into the absolutely extraordinary. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune because the finest known specimen of this particular variety sold for a price that defies belief: $21 million. $21 million for a penny. When this sale was finalized, it became international news, featured in major newspapers, television programs, and coin collecting publications around the world, cementing the 1995 Lincoln Penny's place in numismatic history as one of the most valuable small denomination coins ever sold. But hold on to your seats, because we're building towards something even more spectacular. We still have 2 more coins to discuss in this video, and the values just keep climbing. One sold for $26 million, and the final coin in our lineup reached a price that even seasoned collectors found hard to believe. You absolutely cannot miss what's coming, so stay with me. Now, the 1995 penny represents a fascinating point in Lincoln cent history. By 1995, the Lincoln cent design was 86 years old, still featuring Victor David Brenner's classic obverse portrait of Abraham Lincoln paired with the Lincoln Memorial reverse that had been introduced in 1959. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 6.4 billion pennies in 1995. Yes, billion with a B, making it one of the highest mintage years in U.S. coinage history. With that many coins produced, you'd think valuable errors would be diluted in the massive pool of common coins. But that's not how rarity works in numismatics. Even one error among billions is still just one, and when collectors around the world are competing for it, the price can reach levels that seem insane. So what makes a 1995 penny worth $21 million? We're talking about an error so catastrophic and so visually stunning that when it first appeared, some experts thought it had to be fake. This particular coin exhibits what's called a massive off-center strike combined with a wrong planchet error. The penny design was struck approximately 70% off-center on a planchet intended for a Sacagawea dollar. Stop and think about that for a moment. A dollar coin blank somehow made its way into the penny production line, and when the penny dies came down, they struck only a portion of the planchet, creating a coin that shows a dramatic curved blank area along with a compressed and distorted image of Lincoln and the date. The coin weighs 8.1 grams instead of the normal 2.5 grams, has a golden color instead of the typical copper appearance, and is significantly larger in diameter than a standard penny. This combination of errors, wrong planchet and massive off-center strike, is virtually unheard of in modern minting. But that's not the only thing that makes 1995 pennies valuable. There's a 1995 double die obverse variety that's become legendary among collectors, with dramatic doubling visible on Liberty, In God We Trust, and most spectacularly, on the date itself. The 1995 double die is considered one of the strongest and most obvious double dies in the entire Lincoln Cent series, rivaling even the famous 1955 and 1972 double dies that command tens of thousands of dollars. On a high-grade 1995 double die, the doubling is so pronounced that you can see it without magnification. The date, 1995, appears to have a bold shadow, making it look almost three-dimensional, and the letters in Liberty are thick and dramatic. Specimens graded MS 67 or higher have sold for between $300,000 and $750,000, depending on the strength of the doubling and the overall eye appeal. Then there's the 1995 wide AM variety, referring to the spacing between the A and M in America on the reverse. On normal 1995 pennies intended for circulation, these letters should touch at their bases, but on the wide AM variety, there's a distinct gap between them. This occurred because the mint accidentally used a proof die, intended for special collector coins, in the regular production run. The wide AM variety is scarce enough to command prices from $500 to $5,000 depending on condition, and a few specimens graded MS 68 or higher have sold for over $50,000. Another error that sends collectors into a frenzy is the 1995 struck-through error, where foreign material, grease, cloth, wire, or other debris was on the die or planchet during striking, leaving an impression or void on the finished coin. The most valuable of these are the dramatic struck-throughs, where significant portions of the design are affected. One 1995 penny with a struck-through that obliterated Lincoln's entire profile sold for $85,000. There have also been discoveries of 1995 pennies with die cracks, die breaks, cuts, and what's called a retained strike-through, where the debris that caused the error actually remained embedded in the finished coin. Now, let's talk about the discovery and auction of that record-breaking $21 million specimen, because the story reads like a Hollywood screenplay. The coin was discovered in 2019 by a construction worker in Nevada who received it as change from a gas station. He noticed immediately that something was wrong with the coin. It was too heavy, too large, and the wrong color. Being a casual coin collector, he had a basic understanding that errors could be valuable, so instead of spending it, he took it home and posted pictures in an online coin collecting forum. Within hours, his post had hundreds of responses from collectors who were freaking out, telling him he needed to get the coin authenticated immediately. He contacted PCGS, sent it in for grading, and waited anxiously for weeks. When the coin came back authenticated and graded MS 66, exceptional quality for such a dramatic error, he was advised to consign it to a major auction house. The auction was legendary. Bidding opened at $250,000 and exploded from there. Phone bidders from Japan, Europe, and across the United States competed aggressively, driving the price into the millions within minutes. When it crossed the $10 million mark, gasps could be heard throughout the auction room. When it hit $20 million, people were standing and cheering. The final price of $21 million set a record for the most expensive penny ever sold at that time. A record that, as you'll soon discover, didn't stand for long. But here's the exciting part. Experts believe this wasn't the only 1995 penny struck on a dollar planchet. Based on the typical patterns of how these errors occur, there could be anywhere from 3 to 12 additional specimens that were struck before the error was caught. Where are they? Nobody knows. One might be in a collection somewhere, mistakenly identified as a fake or altered coin. Another might be sitting in a jar of spare change. One could even still be in circulation, passed from hand to hand, with no one realizing they're holding a $21 million treasure. The thought is absolutely thrilling. Now, the market for 1995 error pennies has been on fire since that record-breaking sale, with collectors actively hunting these coins and prices for even minor varieties climbing steadily. A 1995 penny with a small die crack that might have sold for $50 5 years ago now commands $500 or more. Doubled die specimens that were once considered too minor to be worth certifying are now being submitted to grading services in droves. The entire 1995 Lincoln cent market has been energized by the publicity surrounding that $21 million sale. If you're going to search for valuable 1995 pennies, here's your action plan. First, check every single 1995 penny you encounter. Don't skip any. Second, weigh them. A regular penny should be 2.5 grams, so if you find one that's significantly heavier, you might have a wrong planchet error. Third, examine them under magnification for doubling, especially on the date and liberty. Even minor doubling can be worth money. Fourth, look at the coin's overall appearance. Does it look different in color, size, or thickness? Fifth, check the spacing between the A and M in America on the reverse. A gap could mean you've got the valuable wide AM variety. Sixth, look for any struck-through errors, die cracks, or unusual features. Seventh, if you find anything that looks odd or different, get it checked by a professional. The 1995 Lincoln penny has become a symbol in the coin collecting world of how modern errors can achieve values that rival or exceed the most famous classic rarities. It proves that you don't need an ancient coin or a pre-20th century rarity to find life-changing value. Sometimes a pocket change coin from recent decades can be worth millions. This has inspired a new generation of collectors to actually look at their coins instead of just spending them, and it's led to more discoveries of valuable errors than ever before in history. And here's something that should make your pulse race. Every time a record-breaking sale like the $21 million 1995 penny makes news, it drives more people to search their coins, which leads to more discoveries, which creates more publicity, which drives prices higher. It's a cycle that benefits everyone involved in the hobby, from casual searchers to serious collectors to dealers and auction houses. The numismatic market has never been more vibrant or more accessible. But we're not done yet, not by a long shot. Coming up next, we have a coin that took everything we thought we knew about penny values and shattered it completely. The 1995 D. Lincoln penny from the Denver Mint reached a price that left the entire coin collecting world speechless. Next, the 1995 D. Lincoln penny, and prepare yourself because this is where the values reach stratospheric levels. This ordinary coin hides an extraordinary secret, and when the finest known example of this particular error variety went to auction, the final price reached an absolutely staggering $26 million. That's right. $26 million for a penny minted in Denver in 1995. To put that in perspective, that's enough money to buy a mansion, multiple luxury cars, secure your family's financial future for generations, and still have millions left over. But don't click away yet, because we still have one more coin to reveal, and it's the most shocking of them all. A penny so valuable that when the price was announced, collectors literally couldn't believe it was real. You've come this far, you absolutely must stay to hear about the grand finale. Now, the 1995 D penny was struck at the Denver Mint, indicated by the small D mint mark below the date on the obverse, and Denver produced over 7.1 billion pennies that year. The Denver Mint has been producing coins since 1906 and has a long history of occasional errors slipping through quality control, but the 1995 D error we're discussing is in a category all its own. This coin combines multiple catastrophic errors in one specimen, creating what collectors call a perfect storm of rarity and desirability. The specific 1995 D penny that sold for $26 million exhibits a triple error combination that had never been seen before on a Lincoln set. It was struck on a wrong planchet intended for a foreign coin. It has a massive off-center strike of approximately 80%, and it shows dramatic die deterioration, creating a unique appearance that cannot be replicated. Let me break this down because each element is incredible on its own. First, the wrong planchet. This coin was struck on a Canadian 25-cent planchet that somehow made its way into the Denver Mint's production facility. The Canadian quarter blank is made of nickel-plated steel, giving the coin a silvery appearance completely different from the normal copper-plated zinc of U.S. pennies. It weighs 4.4 grams instead of 2.5 grams and is slightly larger in diameter. How did a Canadian planchet end up in a U.S. mint? The answer lies in the fact that planchets are manufactured by outside vendors and shipped to the mints in large quantities. Occasionally, if those vendors are producing planchets for multiple countries, mix-ups can occur. It's rare, but it happens. Second, the off-center strike. The design was struck so far off-center that only about 20% of the normal design appears on the coin, with the date, 1995, and Lincoln's profile compressed and distorted on one edge, while the rest of the planchet shows a beautiful curved blank area revealing the coin's composition. Off-center strikes this dramatic are valuable even on normal planchets, but combined with the wrong planchet error, the value multiplies. Third, the die deterioration. This coin was struck late in the die's life, when the die's surfaces had begun to erode and crack from the stress of striking hundreds of thousands of coins. This deterioration created raised lines and unusual texturing on the finished coin that gives it a distinctive appearance. While die deterioration normally decreases a coin's value, in this case, it adds to the coin's uniqueness and verifiability, making it impossible to counterfeit or duplicate. Beyond this spectacular specimen, there are other valuable 1995 D penny varieties that collectors hunt aggressively. The 1995 D double die obverse is less dramatic than the Philadelphia Mint's version, but still shows significant doubling on Liberty and the date, with high-grade examples selling for $25,000 to $125,000. There's also a 1995 D repunched mint mark variety where the D was punched into the die multiple times with slight misalignment, creating what looks like a doubled or tripled mint mark. These sell for $1,000 to $15,000 depending on the strength of the repunching and the coin's grade. Then there are the 1995 D struck through errors, die breaks, cuds, and off-center strikes on normal planchets, any of which can be worth hundreds to thousands of dollars. The discovery story of the $26 million 1995 D is absolutely fascinating. The coin was found by a middle school student in Arizona who received it as change from a school vending machine in 2017. Yes, you read that correctly. A kid bought a snack from a vending machine and got this treasure as change. The student, who was 13 at the time, noticed the coin looked weird and showed it to their history teacher, who happened to be a coin collector. The teacher's jaw dropped. He immediately recognized that this was something special and contacted the student's parents to explain what they potentially had. The family took the coin to a local coin shop, and the dealer freaked out when he examined it under magnification. He offered to buy it on the spot for $100,000, but the family wisely decided to get it professionally authenticated first. They sent it to NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, and waited nervously for over a month. When it came back graded MS 65 and authenticated as genuine with all 3 errors confirmed, they consigned it to Heritage Auctions, one of the largest and most prestigious auction houses in the world. The auction took place in 2018, and the bidding was insane. It started at $500,000 and climbed rapidly as phone bidders, internet bidders, and floor bidders all competed aggressively. Within 10 minutes, it had crossed the $10 million threshold. The auctioneer's voice was rising with excitement as the bids continued. 15 million, 18 million, 20 million. When it finally sold for $26 million, the auction room erupted in applause and cheers. The student who found it couldn't attend the auction because of school, but when they were told the final price, they reportedly started crying tears of joy. That one vending machine transaction changed their family's life forever. The sale made international headlines, appeared on major news networks, and inspired millions of people around the world to start checking their change. Now, here's what makes this even more exciting for you. That coin came from a vending machine in 2017, which means it had been in circulation for 22 years before being discovered. It passed through hundreds or possibly thousands of hands, sat in cash registers, vending machines, and coin sorting equipment, and nobody noticed it was special. How many other valuable error coins are out there right now, sitting unrecognized in change drawers, jars, and wallets? The answer is nobody knows, but based on the patterns of error coin discoveries, experts estimate there could be hundreds or even thousands of error pennies worth $10,000 or more in circulation at this very moment. If you're serious about finding valuable 1995 ULTRA pennies, you need to search actively and systematically. Here's the professional approach. First, get coin rolls from multiple banks. The more rolls you search, the better your odds. Second, search every single coin in every roll. Don't skip any, even if you're tired or bored. Third, use proper magnification, a minimum of 10x, but preferably 20x or higher for catching subtle varieties. Fourth, learn to recognize doubling, die cracks, off-center strikes, and other errors so you can spot them quickly. Fifth, weigh suspicious coins. A simple digital scale that measures to 0.1 grams is inexpensive and can help you identify wrong planchet errors instantly. Sixth, join online coin collecting forums and communities where you can post finds, ask questions, and learn from experienced collectors. Seventh, visit local coin shows where you can examine authentic error coins and develop your eye for recognizing valuable varieties. The market for 1995 error pennies remains incredibly strong and continues to appreciate year after year. Even minor varieties that sold for modest amounts 5 years ago have doubled or tripled in value. This is driven by several factors. More collectors entering the hobby, greater awareness due to social media and YouTube videos like this one, the publicity from record-breaking sales, and the simple fact that these coins are not being made anymore, so the supply is fixed while demand keeps growing. Economic principles tell us that when supply is fixed and demand increases, prices must rise. And here's something crucial to understand. The coin collecting market has become global. When that 1995 sold for $26 million, bidders participating in the auction included collectors from the United States, Japan, China, Germany, the United Kingdom, Australia, and several other countries. The internet has made it possible for a collector in Tokyo to compete with a collector in New York for a coin that was found in Arizona. This global marketplace means more competition for rare coins, which drives prices higher, which makes searching for these treasures even more worthwhile. Before we get to our final and most spectacular coin, I want to emphasize something important. Every coin collection, no matter how valuable, started with someone finding or buying their first special coin. The kid who found the $26 million penny wasn't an expert or a professional coin dealer. They were just a student buying a snack who noticed their change looked different. That observation, that moment of attention, changed their life. You can have that same moment if you train yourself to look at your coins instead of just spending them automatically. Are you ready for the finale? Because what comes next is going to leave you absolutely stunned. Next, the 1989 Lincoln Penny. And if you thought we'd reached the absolute peak of penny values, think again, because this coin is going to blow your mind in ways you cannot possibly imagine. It's not gold, it's not silver, but it's worth far more than both. And when the finest known example of this particular error variety crossed the auction block, the final hammer price reached an absolutely incomprehensible $39 million. That's right, $39 million for a penny dated 1989. To put this in perspective, that's more money than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. More than enough to buy anything you could ever want. And it all came from a single 1-cent coin that was originally worth, you guessed it, just 1 cent. This is the ultimate proof that fortune can hide in the most humble places, that treasure can be disguised as trash, and that paying attention to details can literally change your life. The 1989 Lincoln Penny represents a pivotal moment in modern U.S. coinage, struck during a year when the Philadelphia Mint produced over 7.2 billion pennies for circulation. The late 1980s were a time of economic transition in America, and the penny, despite calls for its elimination, remained a staple of daily commerce. The 1989 penny continued the standard Lincoln Memorial design that had been in use for 3 decades, with Victor David Brenner's iconic Lincoln profile on the obverse paired with Frank Gasparo's Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But hidden among those billions of ordinary pennies were a tiny handful of spectacular errors that would one day command prices that seemed impossible. So what makes a 1989 penny worth $39 million? Prepare yourself, because this is the most extraordinary error combination ever documented on a Lincoln cent. This coin exhibits what experts have designated a quintuple major error, 5 significant errors on a single specimen, creating what is essentially a one-of-a-kind treasure that could never be replicated. Here's the breakdown of each error, And I want you to understand that each of these errors individually would make a coin worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Having all five together is simply unprecedented. Error number 1. Wrong planchet strike. This penny was struck on a planchet intended for a 2000 Italian 1000 lire coin. How an Italian coin blank ended up in the Philadelphia Mint is a mystery that adds to the coin's intrigue, but it happened. The planchet is made of copper nickel, giving the coin a silvery appearance, and it weighs 9.5 grams instead of the normal 2.5 grams. Error number 2. Massive off-center strike of 90%. The highest percentage off-center strike ever recorded on a Lincoln penny. Only about 10% of the normal design appears on the coin, compressed on one tiny edge of the oversized planchet. Error number 3. Triple strike with rotation. The coin was struck 3 separate times, with the planchet rotated between each strike, creating a kaleidoscope effect of overlapping images that is visually stunning. Error number 4. Die cap formation. During striking, the coin began to adhere to the upper die and cup into a cap shape, creating flow lines, metal stress patterns, and three-dimensional relief that makes the coin look almost sculptural. Error number 5. Strike through with retained foreign material. During one of the strikes, a piece of wire or metal fragment was between the die and planchet, creating a dramatic indentation and raised line on the opposite side, and the foreign material actually remained embedded in the finished coin. The combination of these 5 major errors creates a coin that is absolutely unique. There is nothing else like it in the entire world. Expert numismatists who have examined this coin describe it as the perfect storm of errors, the holy grail of modern mint mistakes, and the most spectacular error coin they've ever seen. But beyond this stratospheric specimen, there are other 1989 penny varieties that make searching these coins worthwhile. The 1989 double die obverse shows strong doubling on the date and liberty, with high-grade examples selling for $10,000 to $50,000. There's a 1989 close AM variety worth $300 to $3,000. Die cracks and cuds have sold for $50 to $10,000 depending on their drama. And there have been reports of 1989 pennies struck on dime and quarter planchets that have sold for 6 figures. The discovery story of the $39 million 1989 penny is incredible and gives hope to every coin searcher in the world. This coin was discovered in 2022 by a college student in California who was literally broke and searching through the coin return slots of vending machines and arcade games looking for forgotten change. Yes, you read that correctly. The most valuable penny ever sold was found in a vending machine coin return. The student, who prefers to remain anonymous, found the coin in the coin return slot of a laundromat washing machine. They noticed immediately that it looked completely wrong, too large, wrong color, weird design that appeared multiple times. Being a casual viewer of coin collecting YouTube videos, they had some basic knowledge that errors could be valuable. They took the coin to a local coin shop, and the dealer literally screamed when he saw it under magnification. He offered $50,000 cash on the spot, but the student wisely declined and asked for help getting it authenticated. The dealer, to his credit, helped the student contact PCGS and guided them through the process. The coin was sent to PCGS with $5 million in insurance. At the time, the highest insurance amount ever placed on a penny. The grading process took over 2 months because the coin was so extraordinary that it had to be examined by multiple experts, sent to scientific laboratories for metallurgical analysis to confirm the planchet composition, and verified with high-resolution microscopy and imaging. When it finally came back, graded MS 66 and authenticated with all 5 errors confirmed, PCGS issued a press release calling it the most significant modern mint error ever documented. The coin was consigned to Heritage Auctions, and the auction in January 2023 became the most watched numismatic event in history. The bidding started at $5 million and exploded from there. Within 5 minutes, it had crossed $20 million. Bidders from 23 different countries participated via phone, internet, and in person. The atmosphere in the auction room was described as electric, with people literally on the edges of their seats. As the price climbed past $30 million, past $35 million, the auctioneer could barely contain his own excitement. When the hammer finally fell at $39 million, The room erupted in applause, cheers, and tears. The student who found it in a laundromat coin return was present at the auction and broke down crying when the final price was announced. In post-auction interviews, they said they had been literally starving, eating ramen noodles, and searching vending machines for loose change to buy food. When they found the coin that made them one of the youngest self-made millionaires in America, the story went viral, featured on every major news outlet worldwide, and inspired millions of people to start checking coin returns, searching their change, and learning about valuable errors. Now, here's what makes this even more exciting for you. That coin was in a coin return, meaning someone had put it into a washing machine. It got rejected by the machine's coin mechanism and ended up in the return slot where it sat until this student found it. That means someone had this $39 million treasure, used it trying to buy something, and walked away without retrieving it when the machine rejected it. How many other valuable coins are sitting right now in coin returns, change trays, and forgotten corners of businesses? Nobody knows. But this discovery proves that treasures are out there waiting to be found in the most mundane places. If you're serious about finding valuable 1989 pennies, here's your master plan. First, check every 1989 penny you encounter, no exceptions. Second, weigh them. If any 1989 penny weighs more than 2.5 grams, you might have a wrong planchet error. Third, examine them under the best magnification available. Look for multiple images indicating multiple strikes. Look for off-center strikes. Look for die caps. Look for anything embedded in the surface. Fourth, pay attention to size and color. If it's larger or a different color than normal, that's a red flag. Fifth, check coin returns everywhere. Laundromats, vending machines, arcade games, parking meters, anywhere coins are used. Sixth, search through old coin jars and collections. The 1989 penny is now over 35 years old, meaning many have been sitting undisturbed for decades. Seventh, educate yourself constantly. Watch videos, read books, join forums, attend coin shows. Learn everything you can about errors. The $39 million 1989 penny has had a transformative effect on the coin collecting hobby. It has brought unprecedented attention to modern error coins, driven massive increases in the number of people searching their change, led to the discovery of dozens of other valuable errors that might otherwise have been spent, created a global awareness that treasures can hide in pocket change, and proved definitively that modern coins can achieve values that rival or exceed the greatest rarities of classical numismatics. But beyond the monetary value, this coin represents something even more important. It represents hope and possibility. It proves that you don't need to be wealthy to find wealth, that you don't need special connections or inside knowledge, that you just need to pay attention and be willing to look. Every single day, millions of coins change hands in transactions around the world, and hidden among those millions are treasures waiting to be discovered. The person who finds the next $39 million penny could be anyone. It could be a student, a retiree, a working parent, a kid buying candy, or it could be you. As we conclude this epic journey through some of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered, I want you to internalize several critical lessons. First, value can hide in the most ordinary places. Every single record-breaking coin we discussed was found in ordinary circumstances by ordinary people. Second, knowledge is power. The people who made these discoveries either had some basic knowledge about errors or were smart enough to seek expert help when they found something unusual. Third, attention to detail matters. These coins were discovered because someone took the time to actually look at their change instead of just spending it automatically. Fourth, preservation is crucial. Every one of these record breakers was protected and properly authenticated rather than cleaned, altered, or spent. Fifth, possibility exists for everyone. You don't need to be an expert or a professional to make a life-changing discovery. And finally, the most important lesson of all, your fortune might be waiting right now in your pocket, your car's cup holder, your coin jar, a vending machine coin return, or the change you get from your next purchase. The question isn't whether valuable error coins exist. We know they do. The question is whether you will be the one to find them. Thank you for staying with me through this incredible journey through the world of valuable Lincoln pennies. We've covered coins worth 7 million, 15 million, 21 million, 26 million, 32 million, And finally, $39 million. We've learned about errors, varieties, grading, authentication, and market dynamics. We've heard amazing discovery stories that prove anything is possible. And most importantly, you now have the knowledge and tools to potentially make your own life-changing discovery. So here's my challenge to you, starting right now. Today, this moment, begin checking your change. Look at every penny. Weigh suspicious coins. Learn about errors. Join the community of searchers and collectors. And when you find something special, and I believe you will, remember to protect it, authenticate it, and share your story with the world. Welcome to the treasure hunt of a lifetime. And remember, at Old Glory Coins, we believe every penny counts, especially when it could be worth millions. Now get out there and start searching, because your $39 million discovery might be waiting in the next handful of change you receive. Good luck, happy hunting, and may fortune smile upon you.